SHP Films and Vortex Productions present Ian Fleming's James Bond in Never to Have Loved at All, a not-for-profit, fan-made production, adapted by Paul Vought from the Fiat Lux Films production Syns by Robert Brock.
The underground room was cold and dank. The damp walls were built with greyish-red bricks. The floor was strewn with rubble. Set in the centre of the dismal place was a metal table and two metal chairs. The chairs were positioned to face each other across the rusted tabletop. A single 40-watt light bulb hung from the concrete ceiling on a frayed electrical cord. It cast a dim yellowish light on the woman, whose arms and legs were bound to one of the chairs by blue nylon ropes. Selina Pellic's tangled brunette shoulder-length hair partly hid the bruises on her attractive face. She could do nothing but stare at the mouldy wall in front of her and wait. Somebody walked down the stairs. She didn't turn to look.
I don't know anything. I'm a freelance war photographer, not a bloody spy.
The man wore camouflage combat gear that was similar to the clothes worn by the woman.
I'm not one of those thugs. I'm here to rescue you.
She felt the man tug at the ropes that bound her, then heard a sharp blade slice through them. The bindings fell to the floor.
Come on, we've no time to lose.
Who are you?
The name's Bond, James Bond. Let's go.
Bond was soon at the top of the stairs. Selina followed. This could be her only chance to get out of there alive. At the top of the stairs was a small brick-built shed. The walls still stood firm, more or less, but there was no roof, doors or glass in the metal window frames. The sky overhead was grey. Rain drizzled down. The shed stood amid huge brutalist factory buildings, all abandoned. Grey metal pipes on concrete stilts crisscrossed the site. Supply freight trains rusted on long overgrown tracks. Bond pulled a walkie-talkie out of one of the many pockets in his jacket.
I've got Pellic. Where are you? Over?
Elsewhere, a military green Boeing CH-47 Chinook helicopter waited. It was hidden in a clearing in a nearby dense forest of pine trees. On board, Commander Horatius Saunder responded, a stocky man with a beard that had begun to turn grey.
Bond, well done. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Over.
Saunder signalled to the pilot, and she began the complex business of getting the heavy helicopter into the air.
Okay, Horatio, out. Selina, the evacuation team are on their way, but we're going to need to get away from these buildings. Somewhere where they can get a clear place to land. It's going to be dangerous.
Selina kissed Bond on the cheek.
I trust you.
The kiss took Bond off guard for a moment, but only a moment. He stepped out of the shelter of the wrecked shed and watched the sky, listened. Soon the distant thud of the twin rotor blades could be heard. It would not go unnoticed.
They're coming?
Yes, ready?
Breaking cover from the decrepit shed, they ran out into the open and immediately gained the unwanted attention of a pack of feral dogs. Bond did not want to risk Selina or himself being bitten by a rabid dog, so, Walther PPK immediately in hand, he fired into the group of canines. The pack suddenly had the opportunity of fresh meat. The dogs turned on their fallen comrade and began to tear it apart. The dogs, Bond's gunshot, and the relentless thud, thud, thud of the Chinook drew the attention of the militia thugs that had captured Selina. They ran from their makeshift barracks, and as soon as Bond and Selina were in sight, began firing their Agram 2000 machine pistols.
The prisoner has escaped.
Bond and Selina dived behind the rubble of a fallen building to evade the hail of bullets. They could see the Chinook in the sky. It was close. Bond took pot shots at the small army, with no idea if a bullet had found its lethal home.
Shoot the intruder!
In no time at all, the aircraft hovered above, just off the ground, the downdraft blowing debris away from the underside of the vehicle. Bond leapt up, through the open side door and into the Chinook. He gripped the metal door frame for support and reached down to offer Selina his hand. She grabbed it and he pulled her up. Having witnessed they were safely aboard, Saunder signalled and the helicopter soared away. With all seated and strapped into the seats of the Chinook's main cabin, Saunder shouted across to Bond.
Mission accomplished.
That was a close call, Horatio. Too close.
Bond turned to Selina, who was now strapped in beside him.
Now, about that kiss.
I meant it.
Her head lolled forward.
Selina?
Bond put his hand on her neck. There was no pulse. Then he noticed the blood. She'd been hit. He looked over at Horatio and shook his head.
She's been shot. She's dead.
Damn it!
The Chinook thundered back to England.
Played the game, swallow the dust. She was a mission dressed in disguise. I saw the truth behind her eyes. They said love was just a flaw, but I broke every rule I saw. Never to have loved at all is what they always teach. But I remember every fall and every hand I couldn't reach. The coldest truth behind the thrall is I was never meant to love at all. She kissed like danger, spoken cold, left me bleeding on the road. No medals shine, no flags remain, just broken trust and phantom pain. They said forget, they said forgive, but ghosts like me don't get to live. I fade in files, I burn in ink, I drown.
About 3 months had passed since the failed rescue attempt in Albania, and in truth, Bond had put it behind him. He'd been on several equally dangerous assignments since then. It had been a quiet day, office-bound at MI6 headquarters at Vauxhall, London. Sometimes the routine of day-to-day job was all he needed. He had walked home. It wasn't far, merely a few miles, an always welcome stroll along the River Thames for part of the way. He was soon at his ground-floor apartment at Wellington Square, Chelsea. Once inside, he poured himself a glass of Loch Lomond whiskey on the rocks and sat in an armchair. He dozed off to sleep, but not for long. Bond went to the door, having pocketed his gun on the way, and opened it. A woman wearing a black hooded jacket, tight blue jeans, and black casual boots stood there. She checked to her left and right, as if she was being followed.
James, it's me, Zelina Pelik.
Selina? You'd better come in.
Selina rushed past him into the apartment. The moment Bond closed the door, Selina kissed Bond passionately.
And hello to you too, but forgive me, I thought you were dead.
You saw what you needed to see. Look, I'm in very great danger, James.
Really? Look, Selina, I'll pour you a glass of whiskey to calm your nerves and we can talk about this.
He walked over to the armchair to pick up the bottle from the side table.
I'll just find you a fresh glass.
Stay away from the window!
She grabbed Bond's arm, causing him to drop the bottle. It hit the floor, the contents spilling out.
Look, what the hell is going on, Selina?
A bullet zipped through one of the bay window's panes. The glass shattered, and the bullet embedded itself in the wall.
Sniper!
Bond dropped to the floor and, keeping low to the ground, carefully crawled to the window to see if he could ascertain where the shooter had hidden.
I can't see. They're possibly up on the roof opposite.
They found me. Oh, come on, we have to go. I need you to take me somewhere safe. Safer than here, anyway.
I tend to agree.
The sniper fired again, and another bullet zipped into the room. It lodged itself into the floor. Bond sprinted across the room, away from the window.
Do you have a car?
Yes, parked outside.
Bond stood behind the front door of the apartment. He hastily took a coat from the coat stand and put it on.
Which car is it?
The Aston Martin.
And which car is that?
The silver one.
He took the car keys from a hook on the wall and pressed a button on the fob. This was not a standard feature of the vintage DB5, but a minor upgrade by Q Branch.
Come on, let's go.
Selina darted outside and Bond followed. He slammed the door. It locked on the latch and he ran around to the driver's side. He heard another bullet zip by. Bond drove the car out of Wellington Square and onto the King's Road. Then he turned off, through a maze of one-way roads that led towards the Hammersmith flyover, the M4 motorway, and beyond. The motorway was clogged with traffic, so progress was slow. Selina nervously kept an eye on both the left-hand mirror and rear-view mirror. Neither passenger had said a word since they'd left central London.
So, I thought you said you were a war photographer.
Amongst other things. We're being tailed about 3 cars back. Do you see them?
Possibly.
It's them. I'm sure of it. We need to lose them.
That won't be a problem.
Where are you taking me?
There are several safe houses within striking distance from here.
That would be perfect.
Selina continued to monitor the car's mirrors, wary of the alleged pursuers. They had been travelling for just under an hour when Bond exited the motorway and drove along quieter A roads for a few miles. Then, at an unsignposted junction that could be missed in the blink of an eye, he turned left along a B road. A few miles further up this sparsely populated route, there were only a few farm buildings. He turned right, up a concrete surfaced road, which was bordered by woodland on either side, and which wound its way up a hill. He pulled over beside a metal gate.
Is this it?
This is it.
Bond got out of the car, opened the gate, drove the car through, parked, and then closed the gate to prevent the unwanted attention of passers-by. Then he drove along the concrete road to the safe house. It was an unremarkable-looking house that stood in the centre of a grass lawn, surrounded by woodland. It had 2 stories and looked to be prefabricated, which suggested it was built in the late 1940s or 1950s.
Where are we?
We're in the depths of Wiltshire. You'll be safe here.
I hope so.
Bond took his keys out of a pocket, one of which was a standard issue key for this sort of situation. The front door swung inwards, and Bond went in. He turned the entrance hall lights on. Selina followed him in, and Bond shut the door. The moment Bond had entered the house, he triggered a silent alarm that registered elsewhere. That alert, and the fact the Q branch by policy had a tracker in his car, meant his employers knew exactly where he was.
Wait here. I'm going to check if the house is empty.
Okay, I'll be here.
Bond hurried up the stairs. There were 4 bedrooms, a bathroom and an airing cupboard. All were accessible from a small landing. He opened each door. All rooms were empty and furnished with the basic minimum required. It looked like it had been last decorated and furnished in the late 1960s or early 1970s. Back downstairs, he quickly ascertained there was nobody in the large reception room, dining room or kitchen. There was a larder in the kitchen. He noticed there was another door at the back of the walk-in cupboard. Bond opened it. It was pitch black. He found a light switch which sparked a light bulb on. This revealed a concrete set of steps leading to a steel door. Bond had expected this. No doubt a bunker, a throwback to the Cold War. The bunker's door was secured by a large padlock. It was impossible for anybody to come through it from below. He returned to the hall and found that Selina had decided to sit on one of the lower steps of the staircase.
Nobody here.
We're alone. At last.
She got up and hugged Bond.
My knight in shining armour.
I wouldn't go that far. You realise neither of us have eaten.
Eaten? No, we haven't.
Look, there's a larder in the kitchen. I'll see what I can rustle up.
And what should I do?
You need to rest. I saw a sofa in the reception room. Perhaps put your feet up?
Okay, I'll wait for you there.
In the reception room were armchairs, a settee, a coffee table and bookshelves. There was also a fireplace with an electric heater installed in front of what was once a log-burning fireplace. On the mantelpiece were some carved wooden animals. They looked African, a rhinoceros and some gazelles. On the wall hung a framed print of Tretyakhov's The Chinese Girl. Selina took her hoodie off. She wore a black crop top underneath, which exposed her toned midriff. She made herself comfortable on the settee and looked at a book she'd picked at random from the bookshelf. There were a wide range of readers in various languages, which included English, French, Chinese, German and others. Most were well thumbed. They certainly weren't the first to use the safe house. In the kitchen, Bond ignored the bunker door at the back of the larder and focused on what was on the shelves. Standard condiments and tinned food, all of which were well within their sell-by dates. There were also cans of beer and some bottles of red wine. A further investigation of the fridge, there wasn't a freezer, led to the discovery of a loaf of sliced bread, cheese, unsalted butter, more beer and white wine. He considered his options and prepared a meal. A while later, Bond entered the reception room. He carried a formica tray decorated with a checkered gingham print.
Voila!
He put the tray down on the coffee table.
Carrots, new potatoes, and spam, with a light drizzling of beurre blanc. Hardly fine cuisine, but beggars can't be choosers.
Selina put the book down and looked at the repast.
Looks good enough to eat.
Bond thought
That was a somewhat strange backhanded comment, but was more curious about the book Selina had just put down. It was in Russian.
Thanks. One moment, I'll just get the wine. Kotnari Albademi Sek. Whoever stocks the larder has good taste.
Who does look after the place? Do they live here?
Nobody lives here as such, but I suspect there is a legal obligation for the estate manager to keep it in good order in case of emergencies.
Like us now.
Precisely. Now eat. You must be starving.
I'm not hungry. Sorry.
She got up, walked over to the window, and looked out into the darkness.
You remember those people you rescued me from in Albania?
Right-wing terrorists, I was led to believe.
Their people in England discovered where I live. They've been trying to kill me.
Evidently. I'm assuming you photographed something you shouldn't. Do you still have the film? Anything?
I've got nothing. They took my camera, my film. They destroyed it. I don't know why they're after me.
They certainly think you know something.
Bond stood and walked towards the woman.
I've got no idea. Except...
Go on.
When we boarded the helicopter, the man you spoke to?
Horatio? The commander that assigned me to rescue you. You must be mistaken, confused perhaps. You'd just been shot.
She slowly walked over to Bond. He met her midway.
Maybe. I don't know. I thought I saw him with those people. That's all.
She slid her arms round Bond's waist. She clung to him.
There is something else, Selina. You still haven't explained to me why you aren't, dead.
Does it look like I'm dead, James?
Well, you certainly seem very alive to me.
Oh, I am. And I'll prove it.
Their lovemaking was passionate, sensuous. Bond hadn't had such an experience for some time. At roughly 2 a.m, Bond woke. Thoughts of Selina lingered in his mind as he reached over to caress her back. He wanted her, but she wasn't there. Just a cold, empty space.
Selina?
Bond leapt out of bed and was soon on the landing. He saw Selina as she backed away from the bathroom. She was barely dressed, just underwear. He could see bruising on her arms.
One of those bastards found us. I don't know how. He attacked me. I managed to throw him off. He fell, hit his head, in the bathroom.
Let me see.
Bond moved her aside and looked into the room. A man in black combat gear was sprawled on the floor. He had obviously struck the ceramic toilet basin with his head and cracked his skull open. He lay in a pool of blood that still oozed from the wound. His head dropped sideways. Dead.
I don't think he'll bother you anymore.
He closed the bathroom door.
We can sort this out. I need to call this in with head office.
No. Can it wait until tomorrow?
Bond considered the situation. The man was dead. It wouldn't make any difference if he contacted his superiors now or in the morning. Unless the thug wasn't alone.
I'm going to check this property, see if our intruder hasn't brought along any friends.
Bond dressed hastily, checked the upstairs room, then went downstairs. Selina followed. She sat on one of the lower steps, as she had done before.
You should put something on. You'll catch your death.
No. I'll wait.
Outside, the sky had cleared. The moon and stars were now visible. Bond locked the front door and walked around the outer perimeter of the house. He checked the windows and the back door. There was no sign of forced entry, but he knew a trained professional wouldn't leave him any evidence. Gun in hand, he walked further from the house. Just out of sight of the house, a car was parked on the concrete drive's verge. It was new, a Jaguar XKR coupe. Its polished black paintwork glinted in the moonlight. It was obvious it was empty. Bond could only hope there had only been one occupant, and that was the corpse in the bathroom. It was very possible that there were others out amongst the trees, but the woods covered too great an area. He was alone, and it was too dark. He returned to the house, unassailed. Selina was still on the step when he returned.
Anything?
Looks like we're alone.
Good. Let's go to bed. I'm so tired.
Selina walked up the stairs and Bond followed. He looked up at her, her back turned on him. She was probably the most perfect woman he had ever seen.
You'll protect me, won't you?
Of course, this will all be resolved soon.
Selina rested her head on Bond's chest. He realised he was in danger of falling for the woman. A slither of sunlight shone through a gap in the curtains and woke Bond for the second time that morning. He arched an arm to pull Selina towards him. He wanted her even more. Immediately, he knew something was wrong. He recoiled as if he'd grasped an electric eel.
Bloody hell!
Sitting beside him in the bed, propped up by pillows, fully dressed in a smart casual tweed affair, was Horatius Saunder. He was reading a pulp horror novel he'd found downstairs.
Are you trying to give me a heart attack, you bastard?
Not at all, James. I just wanted to thank you.
Thank me for what, Horatio? Where's Selina?
You've been a great help to the department. The experiment has been a resounding success.
I don't understand. How have I helped you?
Let me show you.
Saunder took a device out of a jacket pocket. It was about the size of a television remote control and was covered in small buttons on the front and sides. There was a tiny video screen set in the upper half. He pressed one of the many buttons.
Selina.
Selina walked into the room. Presumably she had been out on the landing or in one of the other bedrooms. She still wore the skimpy underwear from the previous night.
Hello, James.
She leant on the doorframe to the bedroom and coolly looked at both Bond and Saunder.
So, you two are working together? What's the experiment?
Watch.
Saunder pressed a button on the device. Impossibly, Selina shimmered for a moment. Then she was a different woman, taller, with long blonde hair. The busty newcomer wore a figure-hugging scarlet maxi dress.
Hello, James. I'm Aurora Horn. I'm so pleased to meet you.
Saunder pressed the button again. The blonde shimmered and became a bald man in his 30s. He carried a single-lens reflex camera. He held it to his face and pressed the shutter button.
Hello. The name's Angel. Nick Angel. Angel by name, angel by nature.
Another press and Selina was back, this time dressed in the black crop top and jeans she wore the day before.
You've drugged me. I'm hallucinating.
Selina walked into the bedroom and put her arm around Bond's waist.
I'm very real. Do you think you imagined everything we did last night?
Bond felt Selina's familiar body against him. She certainly felt very real to him.
Selina, as you know it, is our prototype of what we call a synthespian, a digital actor. We set up a scenario in Albania for you to rescue it from.
That was staged. The militia were our people, shooting blanks. God, I was firing live ammo. Did I harm anyone?
No, but they knew the risks. You shot a dog, that's all.
Selina separated from Bond, walked towards the window and opened the curtains to let more light in. Then she stood with her back to the men and spoke.
When I kissed you in Albania, I planted a microdot tracer to your cheek. You can never escape me. I'll always know where you are.
Bond raised a hand to his cheek. He couldn't feel anything out of the ordinary.
That explains how you found my apartment in London. Is that your Jag out on the drive, Horatio?
Yes, it's brand new. Comes with all the departmental trimmings. You tripped an alarm when you entered this safe house, and with the Synthespians control unit, we were doubly sure where you were.
Wait a minute.
Bond left Saunder and Selina in the bedroom and went to check the bathroom. The door was still closed. He'd opened it, unsure what he'd expect to see. The cadaver in the pool of blood was gone. He returned to the bedroom.
What about the intruder? And in London, the sniper's bullets, the shattered window?
They were my solid digital projections.
Projections? From where?
Now that's the clever bit.
He reached into thin air and grabbed something barely perceivable.
There are 3 micro-stealth drones orbiting the Synthespian at all times. They can project elements up to a 10-metre radius of the core Heartlight drone.
He released the almost invisible tech, and it hovered back to orbit Selina.
Elements being the shattered window, the bullets, the intruder.
Precisely. Anything required to help reinforce the illusion of reality. I mentioned the core Heartlight drone. The peripheral projections are a little ephemeral. They need work. But the core drone is perfected. It makes the central projection feel real, be able to touch, pick things up. It's artificial intelligence, a digital soul, if you like.
Think of the possibilities. I could be dropped into a war zone. I can kill and never be killed.
A gun had appeared in her hand.
I must admit the department was cautious of handing it over to me to give it the once-over, but I do think it works rather well.
A perfect assassin that could impersonate the target. What if she got in the wrong hands? Spectre, for example.
I'm still here, you know. Has either of you boys even considered what I think?
You don't think anything.
To achieve her aim, she needs to assess the situation, act fast, judge. Isn't that thinking? Consciousness?
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Bond. It is a machine. We made it.
Selina smiled at Bond almost lovingly. She held the gun up to her face and winked.
Damn, she's taken my gun. That isn't one of her projections.
What?
Yes, James. I took it from you when we hugged.
She aimed the gun at Saunder. Without giving anybody the chance to act, she pulled the trigger. The very real bullet sped towards the scientist, smacking the prototype Synthespian's control unit out of his hand.
The targeting's off.
Selina leapt from her standing stance by the window, tackled Saunder to the bed, and then straddled him. He was pinned down.
Is this position familiar, Horatio?
She pressed the gun muzzle to Saunder's throat.
Bond! Help!
Put the gun down. We can sort this out.
Yes, by killing this man. I remember every dirty little scenario he put me through.
For a split second, Selina's visage fizzed into a wireframe electric blue outline, then regained solidity. However, this time she wore combat fatigues.
It's malfunctioning!
Selina pressed the gun harder under Saunder's lower jaw.
I knew there were better people out there. People who'd respect me, protect me, like you, James.
She shot a glance at Bond, then fixed her gaze back on Saunder.
Not use me like a toy.
In an instant, she cuffed the pinioned man around the head, hard with the butt of the gun. Then, unexpectedly, the weapon passed through her hand and flew to the floor. A flash of dismay appeared on her face. She glanced back at the 2 men and ran.
Bond, quick, get the control unit.
Bond glanced about the floor. He found his discarded gun first, and then the device. It was in 2 halves. Circuits and wires dangled from it.
It's shattered. Do you have a backup?
No. That's the only one. The control unit and the machine are interlinked. When it shot the control unit, it effectively shot itself. It's out of control!
Outside it was early morning. The sun was up and the sky was blue with patchy clouds. Selina ran from the house, leaving the door wide open. She paused for a second and took in her surroundings. Only Bond's Aston Martin was in sight. The keys she had just deftly stolen from Saunder were for a Jaguar. She reasoned it must be nearby. She jogged towards the drive, and there was the black XKR. She hurried up to it. She momentarily fizzed to wireframe blue as she got into the car. Moments later, Bond and Saunder ran out of the house in pursuit.
My Jag! The bitch stole my keys.
Saunder swooned and put his hand to his head.
Most likely concussion. She hit you pretty hard with that gun. You stay here, I'll go after her.
Bond got in the DB5 and drove off. Saunder watched him go, then groggily stumbled back into the house. Selina sped through the open gateway and onto the concrete road that led down the hill through the woods. In the rear-view mirror, she caught sight of Bond not far behind.
Oh, James, I really don't want to hurt you.
She flipped up a panel on the dashboard. A Q-branch modified car was no mystery to the prototype Q-branch Synthespian. There was a range of buttons revealed. She pressed one, which had a flame symbol on it. Bond was close behind when two jets of fire leapt out of the back of the Jaguar. Instinctively, Bond swerved the car out of the way. He came off the concreted road and slid on the muddy grass verge. The Jaguar skidded down off the concrete road and onto the B road. Selina looked back to see her attempts to warn Bond off hadn't worked. He was still behind her.
I warned you.
Her left hand hovered over a button with an image of a rocket. At that moment, Selina's right hand, the one that gripped the steering wheel, glitched to wireframe and slid through the wheel, losing all solidity.
No!
The momentary loss of attention fatally distracted her from what was on the road ahead. A green John Deere tractor turned out of a farmyard onto what was usually a quiet lane. The farmer who drove the machine had not expected to see a car speed towards him at up to 100 miles an hour. The tractor was too bulky and slow for evasive action. Back in the car, Selina gained substance and yanked the steering wheel hard to the right. The car spun off the road, into a ditch and through a barbed wire fence. It scraped to rest upside down in a muddy field. The farmer climbed down from the tractor as Bond arrived.
There was nothing I could do. The idiot came straight at me.
Don't worry, I'll deal with this.
Shall I call for an ambulance or the police?
Just stay back, I'll handle this. You go about your business.
If you say so. If you need me, I work here at the farm.
The man returned to the tractor and drove away. Bond clambered down the ditch and walked into the field. He gingerly avoided the barbed wire fence that was stretched taut around the car, gouged into the new gloss-black paintwork. Selina had been thrown clear. She lay at an unnaturally awkward angle on the uneven ground. He knelt beside her in the mud and cradled her head in his arms.
Selina?
Selina's solid image flickered, became an electric blue outline, and then faded away. The core hard light drone dropped into a furrow in the soil. It was made of a silver metal and was about the size of a golf ball. Bond picked it up and returned to his car. Back at the safe house, Saunder had retired to the settee in the reception room. He'd found a tea towel, soaked it in cold water, and held it against the prominent lump that had formed on the side of his head. Bond entered the room and tossed the silver ball to Saunder.
Careful. Do you have any idea how much this cost?
I don't care.
I don't suppose you saw where the orbital drones went?
No. Horatio, could you do me a favour, and I can only hope you will? Will you tell your superiors to mothball this project? It is far too dangerous. If it got into the wrong hands, the repercussions could be disastrous on an international or even emotional scale.
James, you do know it never really loved you at all.
Are you sure about that? I'm done with this. I'm going back to London.
Bond paused by the reception room's door.
Oh, I nearly forgot. Your car keys.
He fished them out of one of the jacket's pockets and put them on the coffee table beside a serving tray with 2 plates of barely touched cold food on it.
Thanks.
When Bond had gone, Saunder looked at the metal sphere.
It's too late, James. Too late.
Outside it was a clear autumn day. James Bond got into his Aston Martin and drove back to London, alone.
In Never to Have Loved at All, Selina Pellick was played by Jess Plant, James Bond by Sam Smitter, Horatius Saunder by Jason Stevens, Farmer by James Vought. The narrator was Robbie Carnegie. Other characters were played by members of the cast. The gun barrel theme was performed by Tom Amethyst. Incidental music and the Never to Have Loved at All and The Kiss Was Real theme songs were composed by Jason Stevens. The audio play was edited by Paul Vought. Never to Have Loved at All is a not-for-profit, fan-made production by Vortex Productions and SHP Films 2026.
If there was a man who could see me clear, not just the mask or the coat I wear, would he still hold me, knowing the truth? Would he still whisper, I believe in you? Never to have loved at all was the rule they wrote in stone. But I remember every fall, every breath I called my own. If I was made to feel this way, then who are they to say I'm not real? They built me to mimic, to serve and obey, but I learned to dream when they looked away. I watched the stars from a concrete cell, and I swore I'd never kiss and tell. Never to have loved at all was the rule they wrote in stone. But I remember every fall, every breath I called my own. If I was made to feel this way, then who are they to say I'm not real? I was the ghost in your arms, the lie that longed to be true. But if I can bleed, if I can choose, then maybe I'm more than they knew. never to have loved at all. But I do.